Hello everyone, I am Laethas and welcome back to another video, and today I have a list of 5 good manga you may not have heard of. Now, this list in particular also has one honorable mention, and that is because I feel that recently I've been seeing more and more of it, but I still feel that it doesn't have a whole lot of attention to it, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with my honorable mention, and that would be A Bride's Story by Kaoru Mori. Now, you've most likely seen this in a couple people's hauls, but I haven't been seeing it a lot, so that's why it's here. The artwork in it is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, right here. Like that image right there, that's about as good as it gets. There aren't too many artists that can top Kaoru Mori. And these volumes themselves are in nice yen press hardcovers, and they're only $17 per. Yeah, you can see right there on the French flap. Well, this isn't a French flap. This just is a dust cover. So, RX Manga, you like those dust covers? Don't know why you do, but here's a manga with a dust cover on it, so you can hit that up and go pick up A Bride's Story. But the story itself is very good. It's sort of episodic, so you don't have to binge it. And you know, if you read it here and there, you don't really lose anything because it's mostly an episodic series. But definitely very good. Artwork's fantastic, and the volumes are very high quality for a very good price. So definitely recommend picking it up. And maybe you haven't heard of it, though. This is the more sort of one that I think more people have heard of than the others that I'm going to sort of list. But yeah, honorable mention of A Bride's Story. And next up, I'm going to start with a manhwa, and this is one of 2 that I have in my collection. And I've not seen this in anyone's collections, and it's pretty rare to find. Not that expensive because it's not in very high demand, but I think you can still order it from Right Stuff, and third-party sellers on Amazon are still pretty cheap for a new volume, I am pretty sure. But that would be Remember by Benjamin. Now, I'm just going to quickly open this up, and you can see the artwork is very interesting. It's in full color, is another thing to note about it. But if you are a fan of Inio Asano, this is somewhat similar to that. It's very similar in feeling, kind of. It feels more art house than an Inio Asano work, but it is definitely sort of in that same vein. And yeah, this is a series I would highly, highly recommend you pick up if you can find. Not only is it very rare to find, but it is definitely worth the read. There's sort of 2 stories in here. One is the main story, and the other is sort of a side story that isn't really a part of the main series. The first story is really the good story that you want to read. The side story is just kind of okay, but the main story is very, very good. Feels very similar to like an Inio Asano work, more art housey. So it's a little bit less sort of direct, I would say, even though Inio Asano works aren't necessarily direct. But it feels very similar to that and is definitely a solid read, one I would highly recommend you picking up, and a series I've not seen in anybody's collection but my own. So Remember by Benjamin. And next up we have I See in a Sunflower by Mitsukazu Mihara. Now, this is an old, out-of-print sort of Tokyo Pop series, so, you know, it is out of print, so it's a little bit harder to find, though this one is more common, I would say. It's definitely on the cheaper end, as opposed to other series, but, let me see if I can show it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Those are good pictures to show. There is some nudity in here, so be aware of that, but, yeah, this is a collection of short stories by Mitsukazu Mihara, and they are very, very, like, sort of philosophical, psychological sort of stories that sort of play with different ideas about certain ideologies or methodologies or different like human psychological traits, stuff like that, and it's very, very good. There are each story, well, most of the stories, not every single one of them is fantastic, but I would say a majority or a large majority of the stories in here are very good. Again, it is out of print, but I have not seen very many people with this in their collection. I believe that Manga Kid has it in his collection, but aside from that, I've not seen it in anyone else's, and I sort of want to draw attention to it because it is very good, has a very sort of unique feeling to it. So if you are looking for a new type of series to read or a manga with a very different feel, then I See in a Sunflower by Mitsukazu Mihara is definitely one you want to pick up. And next up, I have She and Her Cat, the story by Makoto Shinkai, and the art by Tsubasa Yamaguchi. Now, this is sort of adapted from the two anime that exist for this series, but this is more of a... This goes more in depth. This has more detail than those. And overall, it is a very, very good, I want to say, social commentary on sort of the society of Japan or Japanese cultural society and sort of like the pressure it puts on people. And it's from a very unique perspective, and it's from a unique perspective of that of sort of an outsider. It's from the perspective of the cat sort of looking at this girl's life sort of from the outside. So it's a very unique perspective that you don't often get. And again, well, I don't think again, but I have not said that this just came out. So if you're looking for a new series to get into, I would highly recommend picking up She and Her Cat. Very unique perspective on sort of a topic that we don't sort of get to see a whole lot about. But yeah, I would highly recommend picking up She and Her Cat. And next up, we have All My Darling Daughters by Fumi Yoshinaga. I know Fumi Yoshinaga has written a fair amount of series, but this is the only one of hers that I have read, and I personally found it to be very interesting. It's a very unique type of story. It's a very josei feeling story, and it talks about sort of different aspects of different people's lives. This is also sort of a collection of short stories, and if you are looking for very slice of life, somewhat slow, it's not the slowest that I've seen, but a very slow paced story that mostly deals with relationships and different types of relationships there are, and whether or not someone wants a relationship or not, is a very, very good, well-written sort of take on relationships and the different ones that there are, how they progress, how people sort of interact with one another. So I would definitely recommend you checking out All My Daughters. It is in this nice Viz Signature edition, and it is $13 like all the other Viz Signature releases, and the page quality in here and the overall volume quality is very, very high for this single volume release. But All My Darling Daughters by Fumi Yoshinaga is definitely a series that I would recommend picking up. And last up for this list of 5 manga you may not have heard of, I have Tenken. Now, I have a spotlight... Oop, volume fell over. I have a spotlight of this series on my channel. I will have a link to that in the description, but sort of to go a little bit in detail right now, this is about sort of a legend that has been told and sort of passed down through the years, and it's sort of starting to come real, but most of the people in society don't believe in it. So you have a little bit of strangeness going on with some of the characters. I should also note that this supposedly takes place in the very far future, but society has somewhat like regressed to a time, to like prior technology, but it is a very uniquely sort of written story. It's written similar, or I guess it has a similar tone or atmosphere to something you'd find from like the Odyssey or the Iliad. Very epic feeling to it, very old style narrative to it. It definitely has that legend-like folklore or legend-like feel to it, and the art itself is like nothing you've ever seen before. It's very, very unique. Very much looks like watercolor, except for there's no color, so like water, black and white. Yeah, the art is very unique and interesting. The volume itself is of quite high quality. As you can see, these pages are like bright, bright white, and the blacks are dark, dark black. And it has sort of this nice cover to it. It is quite a thick volume, like 1.5 in width, I'd say. Like, right there. But definitely a series I would recommend. If you're looking for a story that is sort of like following an old legend or an old tale, this does it very, very well. Has a very, very well done conclusion, and is a series that I have not seen in anyone else's collections, or anyone else's collection, I should say. But yeah, that will do it for this list of 5 manga you may not have heard of. If you have heard of these, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, if you haven't, I would definitely recommend picking them up. Most of them were single volume series, so they're fairly inexpensive to pick up and read, so that's a plus. If you end up liking any of these series that I recommend, then let me know as well. If you have any suggestions for videos I could do in the future, leave those in the comments as well as any other types of comments, questions, concerns, and the like. Leave those down there as well. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and share, and if you'd like to keep up to date with all of my content, you can hit that subscribe button. But anyway, that'll be all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am Laethas. Goodbye.